Well, good morning. It's now past 10, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the College of the Canyons Foundation Chancellor Circle Virtual Business Briefing. My name is James Kniblik. I'm the Director of Development here at the College of the Canyons Foundation. You know, since April of this year, the Chancellor Circle has launched into offering a wide range of topics and resources in a virtual setting, and has served as a resource and a benefit to the local business community. And I want to thank you for being here today, and I hope the next few minutes is of help and support to you. Thank you especially to the many of you that are Chancellor Circle members. Frankly, there's too many of you to thank you individually today, but you know who you are, and we know who you are, and thank you so much for the continued support of our students and the work that we do at College of the Canyons. Today's event will be shared on our YouTube channel later today, and so be on the lookout for that link. Today's conversation is one that's very exciting, very relevant, and very important. But before we get started, I want to go over a couple of quick announcements. Today, the chat box in Zoom is going to be your friend. So please use it. Please plan to use it. You can even open it up right now and say hello. In fact, it's a really helpful way because some of you don't have your camera on, and that's fine. But you can always go to the chat box and say, hello, everyone, and just put your name. And that way people, if they don't see your face, they know that you're there, and then they know they could reach out to you. You can use the chat box to ask questions. And so you can ask a question to everyone in the group, and that's perfectly fine. Our panelists will likely see that while they're talking. So Jason, Holly, Jeff, feel free to have that chat box open. But don't worry, if you miss a question, Joe and I will be there to help catch any that pass by. For those of you that have called in on a phone line, you can unmute yourself by pressing *6, or mute yourself by pressing *6 as well. Before we get started, I wanted to mention a couple really important events that are outside of the foundation, outside of the college, but are really important to note as in the next coming weeks. It's my pleasure to kind of share the upcoming economic outlook, save the date for September 17th. Holly will be talking a little bit more about this in the next few minutes, but we'd love for you to be a part of this, and it's really a pleasure to partner. Of course, the college is a partner in this event, but we're excited for this rescheduled and virtual version of the economic outlook. Kathy Norris is also on the phone, also on the call with us today, and we're excited to encourage our listeners today to visit and be part of the CEO Forum coming up on September 29th. You can go to the Valley Industry Association website for more information and to register. Feel free to message Kathy or myself, and then we'll make sure that you get that information as well. Our next virtual business briefing will be on mentorship, and we have a date coming from us in the next few weeks in late September or in October. And we're really excited about talking about mentoring our employees for the next business briefing. So this is today's topics. It's the Economic Development Roundtable. And I'm just going to take a minute. If you have Zoom open right now and you haven't muted yourself, go ahead and do that. Getting some feedback a little bit. So go ahead and mute yourself if you haven't done that yet. Today's speakers are Jason Crawford from the City of Santa Clarita, Holly Schroeder from the SCV Economic Development Corporation, Jeffrey Forrest from the College of the Canyons. Today's conversation will be moderated by Mr. Joe Klocko, and we'll be going into more detail and introducing these individuals shortly. But before we do that and introduce our speakers, it's my pleasure to pass this off to Jill Milady to share a few words and updates about the Chancellor Circle. So go ahead and take it away, Jill.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Jason, Holly, and Jeff this morning for being our speakers, and as well as Joe Klocko for being our moderator. We've been looking forward to this event for the last month, and I'm very excited that it's here today to hear what you have to say. I want to talk a little bit about the Chancellor Circle. The Chancellor Circle is made up of a very generous group of community leaders, supporters, and alumni who all share in making the college successful. One of our many areas of funding that we give to the college is our faculty mini grants. And last week at opening day, we gave out mini grants to our faculty, and our Chancellor Circle committee did a video on Zoom and presented it to several hundred supporters there at the college or employees.
Hi, Irene. I just realized I was supposed to on a.
And Nola, can you mute? There you go. Thank you. So last week we gave out our mini grants for this year. One of our mini grant awardees is on the line with us. I saw that, Teresa Ciardi. So congratulations, Teresa. Over the years, the Chancellor Circle has given over 170 mini grants to the faculty, and we're very proud of that. These projects are listed on the screen for you, and I welcome any questions or interest you may have to help support the efforts and the work of the Chancellor Circle. And like I said, we are a membership organization, so if you have any interest or questions about the Chancellor Circle, we would be more than happy to answer those for you. Just get a hold of myself or James at the foundation. So I'll turn it back over to James, and enjoy today. I think we're going to get some great information from our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And I really appreciate your leadership and your passion for what we do. It really is exciting. And to see those faculty members light up every year, normally in person, but this time on Zoom on opening day, is really heartwarming. And I know our members feel that as well. You do this, and you've made that difference. And I wish we could talk about every one of those projects, because they all make a difference. And as Jill mentioned, we've been able to do hundreds of, or well over 100 over the years. Well, without further ado, it is my privilege to introduce Joe Klocko. I want to talk a little bit about Joe's background as we get started, and hand things over to Joe as he moderates the discussion. But for those of you that don't know Joe, Joe Klocko's expertise spans 30 years in the aerospace and industrial manufacturing area, working for several Fortune 200 companies. Joe served in a wide range of leadership roles throughout his career, including roles of COO and president. After retiring from a corporate career in aerospace, Joe reinvented his career as a staff member at College of the Canyons. He held several positions, notably around economic development, and he was the Dean of Economic Development Division at College of the Canyons. Now as retired, Joe does hold multiple degrees and industry certifications, including an MBA in finance from Loyola University, Maryland, and the Global Leadership Forum at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. He currently serves as the member of the College of the Canyons Foundation Board of Directors. He is the co-chairman of the Golf Tournament Committee and serves as a member of the steering committee for the Chancellor Circle. And I can personally attest to Joe's passion and commitment to leadership and his unique version of leadership, which really centers around empowering others to lead. And I personally want to thank you for that, Joe, and the relationship that you've had with me and our entire foundation. I can't think of anyone more worthy to moderate and lead today's presentation. So it's my pleasure to pass it on to you, Joe, and take it away.
Thanks a lot, James. It's my pleasure to be here today. Of course, I am just the facilitator for 3 great economic contributors here in our valley. When I think of the names of the leaders of economic development in Santa Clarita, the first 3 names that come to the mind are our panelists today. So I'm going to just let them each go through and talk a little bit about themselves, even though you've had their titles on that one screen. Talk about themselves and what their organizations, and then we'll get into the actual panel discussion. So with that, I'd like to hand it off first to our lady. If we can, of course, have Holly talk. Please go take the mic, Holly.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for being here. I'm Holly Schroeder. I am President and CEO of Santa Clarita Valley Economic Development Corporation. The EDC is a nonprofit public-private partnership that is focused on growing high-quality jobs here in the Santa Clarita Valley. This is our 10-year anniversary. It is not what we thought our 10-year anniversary was going to be like. The organization was formed actually out of the last recession with an understanding that if we want to grow jobs that align with the skills of our workforce and really develop clusters of key industries, we needed to have a plan and work the plan, as they say. You know, we had to have a deliberate strategy for that. It can't leave it to chance. And that was part of what we've done coming out of the last recession, and now we are going to do it again as we continue to work our way out of the economic consequences of the COVID virus crisis. So we are partnership with the city, the county, the college, and the private sector, getting everyone working together to grow jobs and participate as a team in economic development. And I'll stop there and let others introduce themselves, and I'm happy to be here today. Thanks.
Thanks, Holly. Jason, could you talk about the city and your position there?
Sure. Thank you. And good morning to everybody. First, I'm just thrilled to be a part of this today. The college has always been a fantastic partner of the city, and so happy to be involved and participate. I've been with the city of Santa Clarita for almost 20 years. I manage planning and economic development, and we focus on not only in partnering with groups like the college and the EDC to strategize for economic development. We look at long-term strategies to be able to create a business-friendly environment. We've been named the most business-friendly city in LA County numerous times to increase long-term the ability for there to be successful businesses with high-quality employment, specifically spreading those out across the city so that folks are not only not having to commute down to LA for jobs, but also not having to commute across Santa Clarita Valley for jobs. And then we look at more short-term strategies, including bringing in more film and tourism and helping with retail activity. But I'm happy to be a part of this today and to answer any questions that come up. Thank you again.
And last but not least, Jeff Forrest, VP of Economic Development at COC. I might add that Dr. Van Hook had decided she had to upgrade the title from Dean to Vice President to some real talent in the position. So Jeff, go ahead.
Joe, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So glad to be with you on this Friday morning. Thank you for your time and for being able to join us. My name is Jeff Forrest. I'm the Vice President of Economic and Workforce Development here at College of the Canyons, and I'm celebrating my 4th year being in this role and being in Los Angeles, and it has been great. Let me tell you about the Economic and Workforce Development Division. It was created by our Chancellor, Dr. Diane G. Van Hook, and the purpose and mission of the Economic Development Division is to provide customized, flexible, accelerated training solutions for companies throughout the Santa Clarita region. Also to support them, those companies that are small businesses, entrepreneurs that are looking to either establish or grow their business. And we do this through a number of resources. We have an organization within our division called the Employee Training Institute. And this particular division has just won an award of $750,000 to provide subsidies to companies throughout the Santa Clarita region that will allow them to get the kind of training and upskilling that they need in order for their companies to remain competitive. We service hundreds and hundreds of companies throughout the Santa Clarita region of every size. No company is too small. In addition, we have our Small Business Development Center, which is just received an award a couple of years ago, actually recently, a reward for its excellence in working with customers, with working with clients, with working with veterans in particular. And we've launched a program that provides QuickBooks training to small businesses. One of the things we've recognized here in the Santa Clarita region, as well as throughout the country, is that small business owners really struggle with managing the books. And so we have a program that enables them and equips them and empowers them to do that. In addition, we have a number of individuals who work in key industry sectors, and they partner with our high schools, our other colleges in the region, to make sure that we are providing the most up-to-date, relevant curriculum that is going to meet the demands of industries as well as address the demands of the future of work. And so we've been able to be a partner here in the Santa Clarita region for many, many years. We consider ourselves an economic development partner as well as an educational partner. And even in these challenging times, we're looking forward to even building and strengthening on that traditional partnership. And so we're glad to be here.
Thanks a lot. So with that, I'd like to get started with some questions to our panelists to sort of tee up this issue of economic development, what they and their organizations are doing in the Santa Clarita Valley. And let me tell you, they are real partners and work great with each other. I like to call it the power of one, one college, one city, one economic development corporation, one county commissioner at the county level. And just a great partnership that I've seen both when I was in the position Jeff holds, as well as since then. So with that, I'd like to tee up the first question, and I'll once again let our ladies kick it off. But over the last several months, especially considering the most recent challenges surrounding COVID-19, how has your organization kept focus on strategic economic development activities? And has COVID pandemic changed economic development going forward?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And it's a great question because it really has been a little bit of a moving target. So trying to make sure we're staying focused on the strategic has been really important. When the WHO said that this is a pandemic, a couple of words make a big difference. That happened on March 11th, and I'll side plug because James teed me up. We'd planned to have our economic outlook on March 12th. So we had canceled that with 26 hours to go, and we thought, oh, we'll push it to September, things will be normal by then, because that seemed to be the mentality at the time. And as you saw in his intro, that September 17th event is going to be virtual now. And so what we experienced there with our outlook, and then the following week when both the county and the governor issued stay-at-home orders, it was very chaotic for every business in the Santa Clarita Valley of every shape and size. The terms essential business, they're terms that we now, months later have become very familiar with, but at the time, what's an essential business? Am I an essential business? Can I work from home? How much of my workforce can work from home? Do they have the equipment? Do we have security? All of that was sort of this big question about how do we make sense. So one of the first things we did was form we set up we set up a resource page on our website to help our businesses navigate the latest health orders so they can read them for themselves, because it did feel like they were changing every couple of hours. The next thing we did is we reached out to our large employer roundtable. So this is some of the largest employers in the Santa Clarita Valley, to bring them in, make sure they knew about the resources. We connected them to the hospital so that they had access to medical professionals, because these employers that we reached out to represent 20%, 25% of all the private sector employment in the Valley. We wanted to make sure that they had the information they needed, because those individual businesses could be really move the dial in terms of our unemployment numbers. And in fact, we were hit pretty hard because our two largest private sector employers were effectively shut down. Six Flags still remains closed. Princess Cruises has since then did a significant reduction in force and has just announced that they've delayed sailings further into 2021. So we had just a couple of employers that had a really significant impact on employment here in the Santa Clarita Valley. So our focus was on supporting them, helping them move through and understand what the orders were. And then as time went on, we moved into a little bit of where we still are, which is a little bit of, I call it a little bit of schizophrenia, because we still have businesses that are closed. We still have businesses that are partially closed, working from home, and certainly families that are struggling with how do they deal with the schools being closed, and how do they, yet they still want to work. How do they balance that? That is a complex arrangement that all of our businesses are working through. And then we have businesses that are thriving as a result of what's been happening here. They have pivoted, they've made changes in what they produce. Businesses that are still looking to expand. We'll talk about business attraction in a little bit. And so they're doing very, very well. So as we have worked hard to reopen the economy, we do see these disparate effects of some businesses that are still really struggling, but some that are now finding new opportunities. And so we really need to be able to work with both.
Thanks, Holly. Jason, will you want to step it up next?
Sure, absolutely. So with the city, our first action during the COVID crisis was to immediately start figuring out how to do more things online. And we revamped many of our processes via technology to be able to to accommodate that. So we did that from March through end of April. Still processing permits, keeping activity going. In May, we reopened City Hall, so we've had a physical presence for residents, businesses, customers to come into City Hall since May. And part of it is, even during this, there were some industries that were still active, and we've seen pretty much steady numbers for building permits and planning inspections as we did last year. So that activity didn't stop, and we wanted to make sure that we could move as quickly as possible to keep it accommodated. And we're seeing activity, new office buildings being built on Turney, on Orchard Village, obviously new industrial buildings at the Needham Ranch, and residential construction at Vista Canyon. So there was a lot of construction and development activity that has continued, and we pivoted very quickly to be able to accommodate it in these times. The other thing that we did for retail businesses and restaurants is we call it the Eat Local program and the Shop Local program, but it's basically a free temporary use permit to allow businesses to expand outside of their walls into the patios or parking lots adjacent to their business to be able to continue having business activity while they're not allowed to have it inside. All of that is, of course, governed by the health orders of the county and the state, but we moved quickly to make sure that our businesses would have the opportunity to do that as soon as they were allowed to do it. So it is a free permit from the city that we turn around the same day to the business and help them get their activity started again, not only for the business who needs that activity to stay afloat, but also for our residents, for the morale of our residents, for those folks that want to have some return to normalcy while keeping safety considerations in place. And this outdoor patio activity at restaurants has been one way to accomplish that. So we've pivoted to do those things immediately to allow for construction activity to continue, and then also for the retail and restaurant activity to continue as much as it can under the county and state orders.
Jeff, anything you'd like to add?
Sure. Some of you have heard already the word pivot, and economic development, we've had to do the same thing here at College of the Canyon. So once we determined that the college would be closed to the public, we immediately, in economic development, we pivoted to go virtual in all of our trainings and all of our classes. So we immediately began migrating our courses to make sure that our company clients would have access to the trainings that we are generally have done face-to-face. The other thing that we did, we recognized the need to reach out to our companies and do cold calls to check in on them to see how they were doing. And what we discovered is that there were two kinds of responses that we were getting from companies. One was the need for counsel and help as they are going through this new change, if you will, of trying to pivot and redefine how they're going to respond to this pandemic. The other one was they needed people. They were thriving, they were building, and they were growing. And so we had both kinds of responses from our company clients. One is saying, can you help us find people? And the other is saying, can you help us stay afloat? And so we've been working on both sides of that fence, working with these companies, and we've realized that there are 5 industry sectors that are resilient to COVID: construction, IT, advanced manufacturing, allied health, and logistics and supply chain. Those industry sectors have grown, whereas retail, hospitality, and restaurants, however, have been severely impacted in a negative way. And so we've had to tailor our services accordingly. Another thing that has come out of COVID is a strengthening of our relationship, that is between the college and the local workforce development board, of which Holly plays a role. We've been working with them because they're wanting to jumpstart the economy through initiatives such as apprenticeship. And so they've tapped us to be the technical assistance provider for all things apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship. And so for the past several weeks, we've been working very closely with the people at the LA Workforce Development Board to assist them as they're trying to jumpstart the economy, getting people back to work. That's been something we've been able to do as well. In addition, there's an organization that's connected with the SCV EDC called the Aerospace and Defense Forum. We have become a part of that as well, to join that in order so that we can listen to the companies, in particular our aerospace companies, in terms of how they're being impacted by COVID and being able to address their needs as well. And so for economic development, it's been one in which we've had to be both agile and flexible and really address our corporate clients in an a la carte fashion. We don't tell them what they need, they tell us. And we make whatever adjustments to our activities and our operations and our strategies that is necessary to assist them and support them during this this difficult time.
Hey, Jeff, I just like you to clarify for some people that may not know the difference. But of course, the primary service or product of College of the Canyons is education. You've mentioned the word training quite a few times. Could you just spend 60 seconds and tell us what's the difference between the training your organization offers and education that is the primary product?
Absolutely. The training that we provide is competency-based training, and it's generally not for credit. It's non-transcripted credit. It's for upskilling employees, in particular incumbent workers, whereas the education that we provided is generally non-credit and credit-based training. It's for those who want to perhaps transfer to a four-year college or upskill through our non-credit, but our primary training is primarily not for credit based training. That's competency based, where you demonstrate a set of skills versus get a diploma or a degree to go to another college. And so those are the primary differences between the training and the educational side.
Thanks, Jeff. So I'll kick off the next question. I'm going to throw it out to Jason. So Jason, how does your organization balance business attraction and business retention efforts? You know, there's an old song, for my kids, make new friends but keep the old. One is silver and the other gold. So the ones we got are good, and the ones we don't have here yet, we'd love to have them visit us.
That's a great poem, Joe. We do balance attraction, retention, and entrepreneurship as a focus of trying to do all three. So one of the ways that we focus on entrepreneurship is with a great partnership with College of the Canyons. The city has a business incubator that allows for entrepreneurs who are starting a business to learn the business aspect as they're working on their product and be able to grow. We've seen some success with that from some businesses that started with a couple of folks and have gotten up to 10 or 12 employees. And the College of the Canyons and the Small Business Development Center help provide services to those businesses. The idea being that we want to tap into the opportunity to grow a couple of people with an idea into a business with 100 employees, much like we saw with Way Forward here in Santa Clarita. So that's one aspect of it that we focus on, is cultivating those entrepreneurs. The other is we focus on creating an environment that is good for business. And sometimes that means getting in the middle of things and helping to solve problems. And sometimes that means getting the heck out of the way and letting the business do what they know to do without extra burdensome oversight from their local government. So we try to focus on being able to do both of those things. You know, some ways that we have helped businesses that are here are in the retention side is we've heard from businesses for a number of years that they requested that our sign rules change because, for instance, our sign rules said that sign needed to be 3 foot by 9 foot, say, and the corporate requirements were maybe that the minimum size would be 3.5 foot by 9 foot. And so that created a conflict. And so we went through and we changed that and accommodated it, the different sizes, and streamlined the process to allow them to get the signs that they needed. And then on a more long-term jobs-focused program is last year we created the Jobs Creation Overlay Zone, which allows new buildings in the business parks throughout Santa Clarita to build up to 5 stories for office buildings or 50 plus feet for industrial buildings. And that allows us to have the type of buildings that a new high quality business can move into and can have confidence that that the city is going to allow that and support them. And so that is a brand new change just this past year that I think will have significant impacts in the future on our ability to attract those high quality businesses with high paying jobs.
Thanks. Jeff, how do you partner with these two to help them do what they do?
Yeah, absolutely. We stay in constant partnership with both the City of Santa Clarita and with the SCVDC. One of the things that we've done is we've hired a position called the Director of Educational Partnerships. It's manned by a gentleman by the name of Justin Wallace, and he works directly with the SCVDC. And what happens is this, when the SCVDC has a client that's either thinking about moving into Santa Clarita or has just moved into Santa Clarita, the SCVDC contacts us. And then we provide a package of information of all of the services that we provide here at College of the Canyons for local companies. And we, along with the SCVDC, we visit those companies together because we discovered it's not good for the company that if the SCVDC goes on Tuesday to visit the company, COC is there on Wednesday. That's just not efficient. And so we've decided, why don't we partner? And why don't we work together and go to the companies together and present ourselves as one? And with the City of Santa Clarita, we work with them, as Jason has just alluded to, with every program that they're having, whether it's the summer internship programs or any of the other programs and outreaches that they're wanting to do with the restaurants, such as the outdoor services that they've done, and anything else. They basically connect with us, and we stay connected with Jason and his team to make sure that if there's anything that's going on in our organization that would benefit them or be an advantage to partner on, we work with them in that as well. There's an incubator that the City of Santa Clarita operates, and we at the SBDC, our organization, provides technical assistance to these new entrepreneurs, and that's another way that we work with the City of Santa Clarita.
And Holly, so how does the Economic Development Corporation balance retention and attraction?
So that's, well, first off, I want to echo what both Jason and Jeff said in terms of our coordination. I think, and you mentioned, Joe, the power of one. You know, the EDC sort of serves as, you know, a single point of contact for these businesses, and whether that's troubleshooting and some of the things that Jason talked about, whether it's their need for training. We've had a few enterprises that are basically, I mean, they're not startups, but it's an entirely new endeavor when they are locating in the Santa Clarita Valley. And so they're hiring, you know, dozens of people at once. And so training programs that the college can connect to or that they may want to develop over time, you know, really helps them when they're saying we got a single point of contact of who we're going to talk to. And then whether it's the city, the county, the college, a utility, a referral to another business, we kind of put them in there. And that coordination is a big part of what Jason talked about in terms of being business friendly, right? We're trying to make it as easy for them to make one of the biggest decisions they're going to make as a company, which is where they're going to locate and where they're going to expand and make major investments. And so we try to do that a lot. And that works, you know, that process is both for retention and expansion as well as for attraction of new businesses. And so we work on both of that. Our retention program has historically been a business assistance program, and Sue Ariano is on the call here, who has been our lead on business assistance. And that involved us, as Jeff said, going out to businesses, reaching out to them, and talking through them about what's going on, and then introducing them to the programs that would be relevant, whether that might be tax credit programs, tax rebate programs, training programs from the college, et cetera. You know, really trying to bring them those resources and incentives and contacts that are relevant to them. that is now taken a new shape because of COVID, and it's really been about assisting them navigating through COVID. So we've helped some companies get temporary use authorizations to pivot into making hand sanitizer, because if they continued making, let's say, shampoo, they wouldn't be deemed essential and they would have had to shut down. So they are able to pivot into new product lines that allowed them to stay open and keep people employed. We've also did a series of webinars as we were looking at reopening the economy back in May, for those businesses that stayed open because they were essential. Like, what did they learn? Because what they all said is it was a learning process. You know, the employees would say, well, I've got this concern about this thing over here, and then they would address it. And it was this iterative learning, working process. And we wanted to short circuit the learning process for those who are just starting to open. So we did a series of webinars on a lot of topics related to the reopening process for those, you know, over that period of time. And then, as I mentioned earlier, during most of that first couple of months, you know, March through June, there was really no attraction activity. Nobody was making any major capital investment decisions. Everything pretty much went on hold for a couple of months there. And then it started picking back up, and people that were poised to look at it, restarted projects that had been in the pipeline and maybe moved to a glacial pace, started closing and getting over the finish line, and attraction started coming back up. And so again, now we're back to balancing the attraction efforts of bringing in new folks. And we are in a very fortunate position in the Santa Clarita Valley in that, as Jason indicated, there is a lot of construction going on. In many areas, the vacancy rates for industrial are really, really low. And because we have new industrial buildings being built, that puts us at a major strategic advantage over the rest of, you know, the sort of northern LA County area. And so we want to make sure that businesses know about that, and we're getting them to see these buildings, learn about these buildings and the opportunities that are here.
Thanks, Holly. Let me just switch gears a little here to a different topic, but it's back to activities. Can you describe what types of activities your organization undertakes to facilitate strategic wins for the Santa Clarita Valley economy?
Is this to me?
Sure.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit about what we've already talked about. The fact that we welcome business, I think it can't be understated, you know, that is, you know, overstated, that is important. The coordination. So some of our biggest wins are when we're bringing a business up and they'll have a million questions. There's a bunch of factors that they have to evaluate in making their decision on where they're going to locate. You know, what's it going to be the impact on their business? What's the disruption? What's the impact on their employees? What's the cost? What's the, you know, do they have all the services that they need? There's a lot of things. So a lot of times we work and we get all the people in a room, or we get, you know, people coordinated on a call depending on the scope of the project, so that they can get all the information that they need when they're making these very big decisions. Some of those might be planning type decisions where we'd reach out to Jason or to folks at the county if it's an unincorporated county location. Learning about, you know, sometimes we call them the big meetings, where you're bringing everybody together, and as a company asks questions, somebody in the room can answer every question that they have, and they can start understanding and sort of getting that mental plan of, oh, X has to happen before Y, it has to happen before Z, but all of that can be happening concurrent with these other things, and they can start seeing how that plan can play out, as opposed to sort of bouncing around individually from one topic to another topic to another topic. When you're doing that serially, it inevitably creates delays and confusion, and it's just because that's just what happens, and when you approach it that way. So the fact that we can bring this whole team together, and I always say economic development is a team sport, really differentiates our region from other parts of LA County and Southern California.
That's great. Jason or Jeff, is anything you'd like to add to that relative to what do you provide to help the Santa Clarita Valley thrive?
Well, if I may, there are two major trends that are happening within the economic infrastructure here in America, and they're affecting Santa Clarita as well. And that is the issue of future of work that's been accelerated by COVID. And then there's the issue of economic equity that's been accelerated due to the issue of racial injustice and the reckoning of racial injustice and that conversation that is being had at the national level. And so you have these two, if you will, major variables or factors that are now being integrated in how we think strategically about doing the business of economic development. On the future of work side, we have to look now at the issue of competencies versus knowledge for knowledge's sake. And so what we're seeing happen from the government as they're beginning to issue grants and requests for proposals, they are emphasizing the need for higher education institutions like College of the Canyons to begin to deploy competency-based training in a greater manner and quicker. And so we've begun the work of doing that. Dr. Van Hook has really led the charge towards moving us in that direction in order to address that future of work issue. With regards to economic equity, we're also seeing that as well. At the state level, the funding is calling for equity, underserved populations, those who are disenfranchised. It's not just throwing money at an issue or a program to put people back to work, but they're also wanting to address the issue of economic mobility, economic equity, and all the foundations are doing the same as well. And so as we look at a strategic win for Santa Clarita, we're integrating those ideas to ensure that Santa Clarita Valley is also aligned and relevant, up to date in how it provides economic prosperity for all businesses, not just the mainstays and those that are proven to be resilient to COVID, but those who are actually struggling during this time of COVID as well. We're making sure that we provide services through our PPP loan assistance program that we have with all the banks here in the Santa Clarita Valley, as well as other subsidies that we provide, such as the Employment Training Panel, Joe, which I know you're familiar with. All of these subsidies and programs that are really make it cost effective, if not even free, for businesses to get training, assistance, and support, as well as reaching out to underserved populations for training and skills and access. All of these things are now the new dynamic in securing a win economically and as a community for Santa Clarita.
Thank you, Jeff. So I'll throw this one out back to Jeff to start off with, but how do you and your economic development partners contribute to big wins like Logic having decided to move its headquarters to the Santa Clarita Valley a few years ago, or Amazon's recent announcement of opening 2 warehouses in the Santa Clarita Valley? And are there any partners that are not on the panel today that you'd like to recognize?
Well, I would say this. So to the first part of your question, what we do is we make sure that when those organizations move into the Santa Clarita Valley, that they hear about College of the Canyons. We have a package that we provide for them to make sure that they're well aware of our services. To give you an example, there was a company that moved into Needham Ranch. It was the first company, I won't name names or anything like that, but their branch is out of the southeast part of the country. They called me directly and said, hey, I'm the operations director for this corporation. We need this person and we need them now. Can you help us? It just so happened we had a young man who was graduating from College of the Canyons who had that skill set. I put the two of them together, and I just got a call last week from that gentleman. He's just been given a full-time contract with that corporation. And so we were the first to hire the first employee of the first leaseholder in Needham Ranch. That's what we do over and over and over again. We work with those companies as they come on board saying, if you need people, see us, and we will partner with the city of Santa Clarita, with the SCVDC, with VIA, with the SCV Chamber, as well as with the Aerospace Defense Forum and the AJCC, Goodwill Southern California, which is operated here as well. And then there are other partners that we partner with, such as the Hart School District. We're happy to partner with them, not to mention the multitude of companies that have continued to allow us to work with them in helping them upscale their employees and becoming more competitive.
Holly, what would you like to add?
Well, I mean, Jeff described a lot on the hiring stuff, and as I said, some of these, including some of the Amazon operations, are basically brand new operations, right? They're just expansions, and so they're hiring dramatically. The college, we've worked with the college many times to do job fairs. pointed companies to the college and their ability to do job fairs and basically bring people as they're coming out of either certificate programs or out of their associate's degree into those. The college's skills around just basic job skills, people learning how to, work in a team and, in basic professional communications, et cetera, have been really helpful. Those have been a new addition to the college offerings that have been really, really, really great. And then it is, I don't want to just keep repeating, but it comes back to this team effort. I mean, Logix, and they, be moving, it's been delayed because of COVID and figuring out exactly when they're going to move in. But they were not going to come to the Santa Clarita Valley. They had ruled out us as a location. And then we had this sort of, sales pitch meeting, talk to them about the advantages and what they could do, what they could create on that beautiful campus that they're building. And they saw a vision that they couldn't accomplish anywhere else. And we have been with them at their side all the way through, calling on the county, calling on the college, working with Edison, gas company, contractors to help them work through the entire process, which is complicated and lengthy when you're building an entire campus from the ground up.
Okay, I'm going to move on to another topic here. We talked about big wins. Certainly, Logix deciding to come here several years ago was a big win for the Valley. But small businesses are really the core of what makes up a community. They're equally important collectively versus big businesses. So how do you balance your focus between big business and attraction or retention of small businesses to the Valley?
You said in that too.
Jason, you want to start that one?
Sure, absolutely. Small business is the backbone of our local economy. One thing we do is we have a website, smallbusinesssantaclarita.com, just one big word, smallbusinesssantaclarita.com, where we offer sort of a landing page of resources from the city, as well as sending out to folks like the EDC and College of the Canyons. And a lot of the business-friendly customer service principles that the city has in place are geared to help those small businesses who may only one time in their business lifetime have to go through a city process. So they're not experts at it. They need their hand held. And so we try to do everything we can to streamline that. The other thing that I guess I would tack onto is, as Holly was talking about our organizations and the teamwork, there's various times when, say with the Logix deal, Holly's group was in the lead and the city and others were in a support role helping to land that deal. And then in other projects, the city will be in the lead and the EDC and the college or even the chamber will be in a support role. And so I think one of the best things that we have going for us with our power of one is that we don't necessarily feel like one organization has to take credit for this or for that. We sacrifice that credit for the win and let, when it makes sense for one organization to be the lead versus the other, we all fall into it as a team and do what it takes to make the greater success for the Santa Clarita Valley happen. And I couldn't be prouder to work with a bunch of folks that have that as their priority.
If I can jump on that, because I think it's a really important point about the way that we approach economic development here, because that willingness to work together and not have to be about who gets the credit or what it is, and sort of a recognition that what's good for the Valley is good for the Valley, is and that where there happens to be a line of where it's city versus county is, in some ways arbitrary. I mean, of course, it does matter where tax dollars get directed, but in many cases, when we're showing and we're talking to a business about where to locate, we are able to say, well, there's these properties, these buildings, these opportunities, some of which are in the city, some of which are in the unincorporated county, and we never have to worry about like the turf issue, which from my colleagues around the country, around the state, is, I'll just say that is exceptional. And you know, if it ends up being something that lands in the city, the county doesn't worry about that. If it ends up landing in the county, the city doesn't land, because we recognize that we're such a tight-knit community that what happens here is going to benefit everybody. And that, I just say that attitude and that perspective, it really differentiates us from other areas.
Jeff, if you don't mind, I'm going to skip to the next question without having you chime in there.
Sure.
Because it's probably something that a lot of people love to know about. So to our panelists, without disclosing confidential information, what can you tell us about business attraction efforts currently underway? Types of businesses, size of businesses, whatever you'd like to offer.
I can definitely chime in on part of that. And when I think business attraction, it's going to be slightly different from SCVDC in that we attract business to the college as partnerships to provide training. And so from that standpoint, there is no business too large or too small. And so I'll be confidential here. We just inked a deal with a major company to do training for years to come. And it is a big deal in which we're going to have to actually do some expanding of buildings in order to accommodate them. Again, it has been something that we've been working on since I've set foot here on this campus in California. Finally, we've been able to do that, and we're very happy with that. But at the same time, I just finished giving assistance to a gentleman who has a company. It is a one-man shop. He did not qualify for any of the PPP money, but we were able to find money for him through the County of LA, and now his business is thriving. And so we work with all size businesses, and they both love Santa Clarita, and they're new to Santa Clarita, and we're proud of that. But also we work through Holly, just complimenting her efforts as well.
Holly, how about your organization?
Yeah, so you mentioned the Amazon deals. We have 2 Amazon deals, and related to that is, you know, one of the hot areas in terms of industrial growth is e-commerce related activities. So these are companies that are helping with that last mile distribution, getting things to us when we're staying at home, and people are doing more and more ordering online. And that trend is going to continue, because I think as people have gotten more comfortable doing things online, they're not necessarily going to go back to, you know, some part of that is going to stay no matter what happens in the future with COVID. And people that have never experienced it have learned how to do that. Other areas that are hot right now that I would stay attuned to is, and Jason can echo in on this, is filming, right? So second quarter for filming was devastating, right? There was virtually nothing that happened, and even in the beginning of the third quarter, we were seeing a lot of activity from studios that were looking for expansion space, probably because everything there is to watch on Amazon and Netflix and Hulu we've watched since we've been shut down for so many months. And so they want to produce more content. And then when we had the quote unquote dimming, that, you know, the restricted indoor activities such as dining and fitness activities, et cetera, there was a couple of weeks there when it stopped. And all of that interest had really slowed down. All those studios were like, wait, if something more happens, we're next. Well, we won't be able to reopen. And then now that is we are seeing filming reopen. We have many of our studios that will be full by you know, right around Labor Day. They've been sort of ramping up over the past few weeks and in the next few weeks. And so the studios are out looking for space again to expand their production capacity, and Santa Clarita Valley is prime location for that. So stay tuned. There will be some news and things happening on that front. And then certain segments of manufacturing, we are eating and drinking just fine. So stay tuned to food and beverage production. There's a lot of interesting activities happening there.
So Jason, do you have any interesting tidbits to share on that topic?
Sure, just I will real quickly bullet out, but Holly made a great point with film. That's an area where we have seen huge success over the last few years with location filming, increasing year after year. And that amount of location filming has then generated demand for brick and mortar film businesses here, entertainment industry, whether it's studio expansions or lighting and grip or post-production. So we're seeing a huge amount of interest in that. And that is an industry with a ton of runway, given all of the new areas for content delivery. The other two areas that I would mention very quickly is healthcare. We're seeing a lot of activity for medical office space and new practices opening up. And then lastly, we're seeing a lot of really exciting things happen on Main Street and Old Town Newhall. There are, on the retail and restaurant activity side, an Irish pub, a churro bar, a Japanese cafe, an ice cream, an artisanal ice cream place that are all on the verge of opening in new projects on Main Street. So there will be a lot of activity there that we're excited about as well.
Thanks a lot, Jason. So we are getting up to the top of the hour. I'm going to, in a moment, ask the panelists to just say how those listening can contact them or their organizations. But in the meantime, I have one question that came in from the audience, and is probably pivoting is the right word. We know retail is being challenged. We've seen Sears being pivoted to Costco, in the process of being pivoted to Costco. But as retail struggles, there's still going to be shopping malls and there's still going to be strip malls. And how do we see that evolving with maybe in the short run, there's some excess capacity relative to square footage. But in the long run, how is that going to change?
Well, what we have seen here is, bigger boxes are the greatest concern, I guess, as far as commercial real estate, retail real estate. And yeah, so Sears is becoming Costco. We saw this before. Mervyn's got broken up into 3 medium-sized businesses instead of 1 large business. We'll probably see more entertainment and restaurant activity in the future as some of the straight retail goes online. But there are still projects and businesses that are betting on Santa Clarita. We just, in the past few months, have had a brand new commercial retail center open on Plum Canyon. So it is, I would say there's still a lot of activity. It is uncertain exactly how things will change, but we are in a more positive place here in Santa Clarita and seeing, luckily, the benefits of that.
Thanks, Jason. Holly, anything you want to add to that? And then after that, I'm going to let you segue into talking about how people can contact you and the Santa Clarita Valley Economic Development Corporation.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are going to start seeing, I think Jason answered that well. We're going to I think we're going to see smaller spaces. We're going to definitely see more entertainment. We might start seeing mixes with residential, office. Office is not dead, in my opinion. So anybody who's saying that, I think, is jumping the gun there. I think there's a lot of advantages to where we are positioned now because of the construction ahead, our population growth, and just being a suburban community, ex-urban, very close to a large city. That all the winds are blowing in our favor in terms of post-COVID activities there. But we're going to start seeing a little more mixing of uses in some of these spaces, whether that's a little bit of industrial fulfillment, a little bit of residential, a little bit of office. I think we're going to start seeing that in some places, those lines are not nearly as bright as they have perhaps been in the past. And again, Joe, I want to thank you for facilitating. And the EDC, we have our website, scvedc.org. We also do a lot on social media. And so you can see the videos I mentioned earlier on our YouTube page. We've got a LinkedIn, Facebook, all that stuff, Twitter. So please follow us on all those channels. And please join us on September 17th for our Outlook. It really dives into what's happening here in Santa Clarita.
Jason, can you take it next, please?
Sure. Again, thank you guys for having me and the city participate in this. Just another example of what great teamwork and partnerships we have here. And I am always available if there are questions or thoughts that someone has. If I don't have the answer, I'll make sure that I get you to the right person. But again, just thanks for having me be a part.
And Jeff.
Thank you, Joe, and appreciate you for moderating this session and for the Chancellor Circle for giving us this opportunity. And I want to make sure we end on a positive note. Look, we're going to get through this. This economy is going to come back. All you have to do is follow the financial markets. There's tons of liquidity in the stock market, in our financial markets. That money needs to be invested somewhere. And so there's going to be, so have hope. We are going to get through this and we're going to come out strong. But we have to hang in there during this time. If you want to reach me, my email, I believe that our email was posted in the chat, but I'm at jeffrey.forrest@canyons.edu. And so I would prefer you go ahead and reach me directly, and then I could direct you to our website. Also, I'm on LinkedIn. And so please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. The name is as it's spelled, and we'll look forward to connecting with you. And again, thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks to all of our panelists, clear top people in the economic development arena here in the Santa Clarita Valley. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to James, and James is going to wrap it up and say adios.
Thank you, everyone. Holly, Jeff, Jason, I can't thank you enough. It's really a pleasure to continue to work with each of you. And thank you, Joe, for moderating our discussion. We will send an email likely by the end of the day, if not over the weekend, giving you a link to this video. So feel free to, if it was helpful to you, feel free to share it with your colleagues. I want to say thank you to Carly Klar, who's our college assistant and student at College of the Canyons, who helps with these, as well as Kathy Ritz, our Chief Operation Officer for the foundation. Of course, thank you, Dr. Van Hook, our Chancellor, and Jill Milady, the Chairwoman of the Chancellor Circle Steering Committee. We couldn't do this without you. So be safe, everyone. Be kind to one another, and we look forward to connecting with you at the SCV EDC Economic Outlook, the VIA CEO Forum, and continuing these discussions on a monthly basis. So have a great day, everybody, and have a great weekend.